Local authorities in Unity State say a cargo plane carrying humanitarian food supply crashed in Lair County, Unity State this morning with 3 people feared dead. The management of African Resource Construction Company ARC says it's working with the relevant authorities to address the unpaid staff salary arrears dating back to 2024. And the National Minister of Health and Acting Gender Minister, Sarah Silito, has officially launched the 2025 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign, warning that new form of digital abuse pose an increasing threat to women and girls in South Sudan. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Diko Andrew. Now the news in details. Local authorities in United States say a cargo plane carrying humanitarian food supplies crashed in Lair County, United States this morning with 3 people feared dead. The aircraft believed to have ferrying food assistance to flood-affected communities in southern Unity State went down about 8:30 a.m. as it approached the Lair airstrip. The executive director of Lair area, Kuth Lajor, said police and investigators have been dispatched to the scene, but access has been difficult due to heavy flooding. Authorities say the number and condition of those on board are yet to be officially confirmed.
The police and CID personnel and one administrative area from that Fayam. So these people they said to read that police because this police was provided by water. So they use the canal boat. Yeah, now they are on the way. They are ready to reach the place now.
What is the distance like from where it crashed and the airport?
But it was very far with airport. The information that I get from those of Juba, they say there are 3 people who are inside from that. But they say they are the big one. I don't know who is the big one. Because everyone used to brought the item, food item. Yeah, now I'm waiting for these people. When they arrive, maybe I can update you.
Elsewhere, the management of African Resource Construction Company, ARC, says it's working with the relevant authorities to address unpaid staff salary arrears dating back to 2024. The Human Resource Manager, Deng Manuel, made the remarks in response to a letter circulating from the company's staff union, which claims that employees are owed $60 million in accumulated salaries and terminal benefit. According to the union letter, workers who were laid off in June 2025 are demanding 15 months of unpaid salaries and terminal benefits. Those downsized in September are seeking 17-month arrears and benefits, while staff who remain employed say they are owed up to 20 months of unpaid wages. Speaking to our radio this morning, Deng acknowledged the arrears, saying the company has faced serious financial challenges since last year, and he said this.
In that category, there are, that's correct, according to the company's plan, because we face financial difficulties for the last 18 months, starting from 2024, we haven't yet paid full salary for the staff. And for that reason, we initiate redundancy fund, as you mentioned, and the company is still committed to see on how to clear those arrears as soon the financial position of the company is okay.
Deng said the delays stem from the crisis that disturbed oil production last year, which he has cut off the company's main source of funding and halted some of its road projects.
It's our obligation for ARC to clear those areas. Our challenge is the source of funding. You know, there were some crises to do with oil for roads. Last year, still the oil was stopped due to crisis in Sudan. From that time, we were unable to get enough funds. Even our project stopped for a while, and the company was also continue with the maintenance plan for the roads. So that's how we came into that attempt of terminate arrears for the staff salary and wages.
ARC company says it remains committed to settling the outstanding payment once the financial situation improves. The National Minister of Health and Acting Gender Minister Sarah Kilitio has officially launched the 2025 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign, warning that new forms of digital abuse pose an increasing threat to women and girls in South Sudan. Speaking on the state-run SSBC television on Monday evening, Ariela said the rise of smartphones and online platforms has exposed young people, especially teenage girls, to harassment, cyberbullying, exploitation, threat, and non-consensual sharing of intimate content. Rela acknowledged progress made through national policies, awareness campaigns, and advocacy effort, but it stressed out that effort remained insufficient to match the scale of the problem. The minister urged communities, institutions, and government agencies to use the annual 16-day campaign and the period beyond its push for lasting change. And she happened to be saying this.
To announce the launch of the 2025 16 Days of Activism Against why this campaign matters. Digital violence, harassment, cyberbullying, threats, exploitation, and non-consensual sharing of intimate content has emerged as a growing threat to women and girls globally and here at home in South Sudan. Teenagers and young people are particularly at risk due to increased access to smartphones and online platforms. We have made some progress. While South Sudan has made important strides through policies, awareness, and coordinated advocacy, more action is urgently needed. Ending gender-based violence is a collective responsibility. It requires coordinated action, commitment, and courage from all sectors of the society.
The 16 Days of Activism campaign is a global initiative observed annually from 25th of November to 10th of December, aimed at raising awareness and driving action to end gender-based violence. An economist says conflicts and economic pressure in South Sudan have created a growing dependence on men on women, shifting traditional gender roles and leaving women as primary breadwinners in most households. Economist Elizabeth Achu says the war-driven economic crisis has reshaped family dynamics, with many men now relying partly or entirely on women for household income. She said this culture shift carries social and psychological and long-term economic consequences that the country is not yet fully confronting.
الأثر بتاع النزاع اللي حصل خلى الرجال بنسبة معينة to some extent يكون عندهم اعتماد نسبي أو كلي على المرأة، وده طبعا أكيد عنده تبعيات اقتصادية، نفسية، اجتماعية، وحتى ثقافية. الثقافة بدأت تتغير من غير ما نحن نحس كمجتمع. بقينا المرأة هي اللي بتشتغل وهي اللي بتدخل أكثر من الراجل، والراجل موجود في البيت، وعندنا أطفال صغار بيشوفوا الحاجة دي يبقى في إرث ثقافي اجتماعي ماشي. أعتقد إنه لا يمكن إننا نتكلم في أثر التمكين الاقتصادي على علاقات النوع أو تغيير النوع دون التطرق إلى الاقتصاد. أقصد شنو بالاقتصاد الكلي؟ التضخم، تذبذب الأسعار، غلاء المواد الخام، الجباية، الضرائب اللي ما قادرين نفهم كل يوم بيزيد وبتجي من وين وماشيه وين اصلا، غياب الحمايه القانونيه للعاملين ديل. 80% من سكان جنوب السودان حسب التقارير بيعملوا في القطاع الغير رسمي الانفورمال سيكتور.
Achu was speaking at the 5th Derrick Culture Festival, where she also compared South Sudan gender quad system to Rwanda's international recognized model. She said Rwanda's 2003 constitution guarantees at least 30% of representation of women in all decision-making positions and is backed by strong institutions and legislation that made implementation possible.
في رواندا مثلا دستورهم بتاع عام 2003 بينصوا على الكوتا اللي هي الكوتا بتاعتهم بتقول ما لا يقل عن 30% للنساء في جميع مواقع اتخاذ القرار. الحاجة دي ساعدت رواندا في انها تعمل شنو؟ بانها تكون تتصدر العالم من حيث مشاركة النساء في البرلمانات واتخاذ القرارات. لكن احنا ما برضو عندنا دستور بينص على الكوتا. يبقى المشكلة وين؟ إنه الكوتا بتاعت رواندا ما كانت كوتا شكلية، كانت مصحوبة بمؤسسات دعمت الحاجة دي، قوانين وتشريعات أكدت على تطبيق الحاجة دي، كان في تأهيل للنسوان ليل، كان في تأهيل للنسوان ديل، ولما نقول تأهيل ما إلا تأهيل مدرسي إنه الناس تمشي مدرسة وتقرأ وتتخرج بيكون حتى تأهيل في فرص التصنيع والسكيلز المهارات.
You're still listening to iRadio News at 1. Civil society activist Deng Bol has welcomed the ongoing peace conference in Bor, saying a dialogue remains the most effective way to end years of violence between communities in Jonglei State and the Greater Bibor administrative area. His remarks follow the exchange of abducted women and children on Monday, one of the most significant gestures of cooperation between the two sides in recent years. In a statement issued Tuesday, Deng Bol, the executive director of Interpaid South Sudan, praised the leadership of both regions for embracing the initiative, especially the Greater Bibor administrative area chief administrator and his team for coming to Jonglei State for this very noble purpose. Bol said communities in both regions have suffered from long lists of preventable hardship. He noted the residents continue to face not only abduction and revenge killing, but also treatable diseases, gender-based sexual violence, hunger, child abuse, negative culture norms, and weak justice system. Deng Bol urged participants in the peace conference to focus on addressing the underlying issues that fueling violence.
Jonglei Civil Society Network believes in dialogue as a means to curb the protracted and chronic violence, including abductions, revenge, road ambushes, and hate speech between Jonglei State and Greater Bibor administrative area communities. And as such, we welcome and appreciate the ongoing peace conference in Bor Town, Jonglei State, which yesterday saw exchange of abducted women and children. Thank you to the leaders of the two regions for embracing this initiative, and especially to the Chief Administrator of Greater Bibor administrative area and his leadership for coming to Jonglei State for this very noble purpose. We are appealing to this very forum to focus on addressing two important issues. First, the chronic impunity that has shredded trust and justice systems in the two regions. Second, prioritizing service delivery and minimizing talking just for the sake of it.
And as well, he mentioned Bol exchange that the abductees should mark the beginning of sustained cooperation and renewed commitment to peace in the two regions. Lastly, Christians from across Eastern Equatoria and beyond have celebrated 100 years of the Sacred Heart of Jesus Parish, an institution deeply woven into a spiritual history of Bude County. The centenary celebration drew believers from all walks of life to reflect on the parish roots, which dated back to 1925. But the story began even earlier in 1924, when a small group of faithfuls laid the first foundations of what became a pillar of the Dinga community. Over the decades, the parish has grown into a center of worship and resilience, witnessing generations of baptism, weddings, funerals, and countless liturgical celebration, enduring both hardship and peace. Sunday's Mass was preceded by Bishop Emmanuel Loa of the Catholic Diocese of Torit. Parish priest Anthony said the celebration marked a century of enduring faith.
We have celebrated 100 years of faith in this land. The first missionary who came here as a visit was in 1919, Father Molinari, who went up to the church, and they requested the district commissioner, the British district commissioner, to come and start evangelizing the area. They were not given the permission. He went back, and it was only 1923 when the district commissioner accepted them, and they came and settled in Nakishet. There were only 2 years because of the area. It was before they came down in 1925 to start the mission here in Chukwu.
You're still listening to iRadio News, and now to the international news with my colleague Emmanuel Joseph Akile.
Tanzania has cancelled celebrations next month to mark the country's independence, which the funds to be spent instead of rebuilding infrastructure damaged in recent election unrest, according to the country's prime minister. The prime minister announcement comes as the opposition and others have been calling for people to gather on Independence Day, December 9th, to demonstrate about killings that took place following last month's disrupted poll. The opposition believes hundreds of people died in the crackdown. Elsewhere, a volcanic ash from Ethiopia has swept across the Red Sea, began through Oman and Yemen and reached Delhi, according to the Indian Meteorological Department. The eruption of the Haile Gubi volcano in Ethiopia, which was dormant for several thousand years, began on Sunday morning, seeing an ash through thousands of feet into the atmosphere. Several flights have been cancelled, delayed or disturbed in India because of the ash, and the country's aviation regular asking airlines strictly avoided affected areas. And finally, 9 people have been arrested in India after a daring 70 million rupees heist in which armed men posing as central bank officials robbed an ATM cash van. On Monday, police in the southern city said they had arrested 2 more people in addition to 7 earlier and recovered 68.9 million rupees of the money stolen last week. That's all from the regional and international scene.
Thank you so much, Akile. Up next, a news of sport with Darlington Moses.
Thank you so much, Diko Andrew. In the world of sports, starting with some sport roundups involving South Sudan. Sports fans, all eyes will be on Doha, Qatar this evening as South Sudan's Bright Stars take on Syria in a decisive FIFA Arab Cup qualifying match kicking off at 5 p.m. local time. This crucial encounter will determine which nation secures the final ticket into Group A of the 2025 FIFA Arab Cup, an exciting group that already includes the host nation Qatar, Tunisia, and the winner between Libya and Palestine. A win for South Sudan tonight would push the team into Group A, setting up exciting matches against Qatar, Tunisia, and either Libya or Palestine when the group stage begins. In Sekafa Under-17 AFCON qualifiers 2025, South Sudan Under-17 lost to Kenya 2-0 yesterday. South Sudan is 4th in standing table with only 1 point, while Kenya is in 2nd position. Bright Stars will end the group stages with Rwanda next Thursday. In some important sport update, Barcelona say they are fully committed to combating gender-based violence amid criticism following a visit to the club by former Bayern Munich and Germany defender Jerome Boateng. Last week, the club posted a video external on X caption, "Welcome to Showtat as Paul Tovi." Jerome Boateng, in which he was seen hugging and talking to former teammate Robert Lewandowski during training. Boateng, who was handed a suspended €200,000 euros fine and a warning by a Munich court last year after he was found guilty of premeditated bodily harm against his former partner. And finally, Flavio Cobolli said sealing Italy's place in the Davis Cup final was one of the best days of my life, after he served 7 match points to win a dramatic 32-point tiebreak against Belgium's Zezou Bucks. Cobolli tore off his shirt in celebration as party atmosphere erupted among the home supporter and Bologna supporters once the 23-year-old took his 7th match point to prevail 6-3, 6-7, 7-6 and 17-15 after more than 3 hours. Following the thrilling conclusions, which stands as the 6th longest tiebreak in the Davis Cup's 125-year history, 2-time defending champions Italy will face Spain or Germany in Sunday's final. This is all in the world of sport, and back to you, Diko the Andrew.
Thank you so much, Donington Moses. With that being, we came to an end with our news at 1 today. But let's remind you with our headlines. Local authorities in United States say a cargo plane carrying humanitarian food supplies crashed in Lair County in United States this morning, with 3 people feared death. The management of African Resource Construction Company ARC says it's working with the relevant authorities to address unpaid staff salary arrears dating back to 2024. And the National Minister of Health and Acting Gender Minister Sarah Cletio has officially launched the 2025 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign, warning that new forms of digital abuse pose an increasing threat to women and girls in South Sudan. That's marked the end of iReady News. If there's any story or event you'd like iReady to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iReady Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iReady South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for news at 1:30. I'm Diko Andrew. Thank you for listening.